Yeah, we are live. Monica, are you there? Yeah, we are live. You can start.
Hi, good evening everyone. I welcome you all to today's second webinar on elder care organized by Anna Jury. Anna Jury, let me tell you, is a non-profit organization which engages and promote various kinds of initiatives that are striving for social change, leadership building, and entrepreneurship in Assam and Northeast. During the course of the last few months, we have been engaging through virtual media and initiating speakers engaged in various fields to create a network amongst people working in the Northeast. Today, we have amidst us Dr. Sharmila Dondi, who is involved in planning and initiating multidisciplinary services for people with Parkinson's in Northeast India, particularly in Assam and Sikkim. Her role as Director of Community Development and Training involves strategizing, implementing, and monitoring the program to achieve the objectives of improving the quality of life of patients with Parkinson's and their caregivers. She was also involved in introducing a healthy aging program in old age homes in Sikkim. I welcome you, Dr. Sharmila. Can you please tell us about your journey in Northeast India?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me on this forum. So I have a few slides that I want to share. Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder Society is an all India charity organization mainly working to improve the quality of life of people with Parkinson's all over India. The main objectives or role of PDMDS. Our name is very big, so we call it PDMDS, is to raise awareness about Parkinson's, because Parkinson's is really not known so much around. To educate people with Parkinson's, the people who have Parkinson's, to educate them about Parkinson's disease, to provide free multidisciplinary program to people with Parkinson's and their caregivers. We also provide medication and assistive aids to underprivileged people with Parkinson's, and those who cannot come to the center, we have a home program. So when we started in 2001 till now, till just before the lockdown, we had reached to 13 states and more than 60 centers all over India. But suddenly we had this lockdown, and we used to have physical support groups for people with Parkinson's at all these centers. These were weekly sessions. And suddenly, because of the lockdown, everything had to be stopped. So we initially were struggling with how to go about it, but we initiated online sessions, and now we are in 24 states, because people can join from anywhere, and they can from their home, and they can avail of all these facilities. So talking about the Northeast and our journey in the Northeast, after about 2 years back, we our main region was in the West, but we realized that now we need to take more challenges. We need to go to the areas that are really unreached, and Northeast was one of the areas which was really unreached and untapped, and therefore we decided to come to the Northeast and started our first center in Guwahati. So now we have two centers. I mean, just before the lockdown, we had two centers running there. Now we have support group online, like I said, but we started with Guwahati because that was the most accessible and for us to initiate the program. So when I've been saying program and center, what we actually have is that people come to the center once a week. These are centers which are located in the community, and they are not really physiotherapy centers. They are like rooms with chairs. That is all that we need. People with patients who have Parkinson's, they come to these places, and we have a team of physiotherapists and psychologists who, or social workers, who come to the center and deliver this program. So we had to start with a lot of awareness programs, because that was one of our aims, and people with Parkinson's do not really come out, and they were not aware of these things. So we conducted awareness programs in, as you can see, in colleges, in senior citizens groups, in some of the festivals, and tried to create awareness. Also, Chayanika had written an article in a magazine. So that is how we tried to get patients, and these are our sessions. So this is the how we conduct. It's a multidisciplinary program, which means there is physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, yoga, different cognitive rehabilitation therapy, dance and movement therapy. So we have different activities that are planned for these people with Parkinson's. Like here you can see that they also have this art and craft. So it's not just making something, it gives of course for their creativity, but besides that also, because Parkinson's is a movement disorder, their movements are restricted, and this serves as occupational therapy also. So these are our online sessions. Like I said, when we couldn't do the physical sessions, we have started conducting online sessions, and we have really had a great response for online session all over India, where we used to reach to about 500 people earlier. Now we have reached to more than 800 people from different parts and smaller places, villages also. So once we were set in Guwahati, we decided to venture into Sikkim. So last year we initiated our program in Sikkim. Now Sikkim is little more difficult terrain wise, geographically a bit challenging, because our program needed that people come to the center. But in places like Sikkim, and because Parkinson's is mainly the condition of the elderly, though it is seen in younger people also now, but so people could not come to the center, and that is why then we started looking for we realized that there are a lot of people in the old age homes in Sikkim. And so here in this, you can see that we conducted awareness programs. So everywhere we try and conduct awareness programs. So this was one of the Gram Sabhas, and like that, different Gram Sabhas we addressed awareness programs. And other picture that you can see is in one of the old age homes. So the people here are the local people, the local coordinators, local therapists, local professionals, whoever and whatever. We follow different models. So whoever we can train, we train them, and then they conduct these sessions. So this is again another awareness program, and you can see they're sitting outside and having their exercises. So this is how we basically have now reached into the Northeast. I mean, we have just arrived in the Northeast, but we need to really reach out to all the states and try and make all the people with Parkinson's aware. Now in Sikkim, the difference is that because they are old age homes, it's not that all people will have Parkinson's. So we introduced a healthy aging program over there. So a healthy aging program with neurological diseases as our focus. Mainly stroke is very common, and Parkinson's, and any other neurological conditions. But also it's not that those who do not have any conditions also need to exercise, keep themselves fit and healthy. As your age progresses, all of us need to get more and more involved, keep our brain active. So we have introduced healthy aging programs right now we are in 3 old age homes in Sikkim, and we follow this healthy aging program in Sikkim. So that is, I think I answer your question of how we initiated in the Northeast. You are on mute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
trouble unmuting myself.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Sharmila. Now, can you elaborate us on the commonly neurological issues being faced by the elderly population?
Yeah, sure. So the commonest of sorry.
Yes, ma'am. You wanted a presentation?
Yeah.
No.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to go on to the so since we are talking about the elderly neurological conditions in the elderly population, these are the commonest of the neurological conditions: Parkinson's disease, stroke, and dementia. So when I say neurological, it means related to the brain. So Parkinson's disease is not so much heard about, and most of the times people think that Parkinson's is equivalent to stroke. I saw equivalent to tremors, but Parkinson's is much more. Parkinson's is a combination of lot of symptoms. There are almost 50 symptoms in Parkinson's. Not that each and every person will have all the symptoms, but each person is different because each one has a different combination of the condition. So the main thing is that it is a neurological illness. Secondly, that it is a movement disorder. So mainly the movement is affected, and it generally most of the times starts with tremors. So in Hindi it is also known as kampavat. Kampa means tremors. But that is not the only identification, or not that every person having tremor has Parkinson's. So what is actually Parkinson's and what happens in this? So when I say it is a neurological disease, what happens is there is a one area in the brain called basal ganglia that produces this chemical called dopamine. Now, dopamine is a very important chemical for our body's regular functioning, coordination, movement. And anyway, as we grow older, the production of dopamine reduces. So in everyone, the production of dopamine might be less, but in some people it reduces drastically. And when there is a lot of cells have reduced and the production is less, then you see the symptoms of Parkinson's. So the exact cause of Parkinson's is not yet known. We know what happens in the brain, that the dopamine reduces, but why it happens, we don't know. It's not like because you smoke more, or because you are obese, or because you don't have good diet habits or anything. There is no reason yet found for Parkinson's. They say that the risk factors are that it can be genetic, and about 5% of the people it is seen in the genetics, like if the father has it, the son or the daughter may have it, or environmental factors, but these are only the risk factors. But there is no prevention for Parkinson's, that we still do not know that you do this, you stop eating sugar and you will not get Parkinson's, or you stop smoking and you will not get Parkinson's. No, yet there is no definite prevention. That is why more the reason why we need to keep ourselves fit and our brain active. So little more about what exactly is Parkinson's. When you see a person with Parkinson's has two types of symptoms. There are motor symptoms. Motor means the bodily physical symptoms or the symptoms related to the movement. These symptoms are like, if you can see in this picture, that the person is stooped forward. So this is what happens. It is initially starts with tremors, then the body, the posture gets affected, the speech gets affected, the volume becomes very low, monotonous, the gait changes, the way they walk changes. So they start walking very slowly, the gait becomes shuffling, there is tendency to fall, as this is a progressive condition. So one, that there is no cure for it. Second, that it is a slowly progressive disease. So it doesn't progress fast, like like say cancer really sometimes progresses very fast, but this disease will go on for like slow. You will not even see the symptoms. If you're taking some medicine, the symptoms will be covered for next 5-7 years. Only after 7-8-10 years you may start seeing the more difficulties in the patient, if the patient is taking medicine and exercising properly. The handwriting gets affected. So the difficulty is now, because of the tremors, the hand shakes like this. If I want to drink water, you can imagine what happens. I want to have my food, the food may drop. I want to write, my handwriting changes. So all my bank or anything that I want to write, the signatures don't match. I can't read my handwriting. And all this is going to go on increasing. There, as it increases, there is tendency to fall, lose balance. So slowness of movement is another very, very common and one of the important symptoms of Parkinson's. So because of all these, now the fine motor skills get affected, which means buttoning, combing your hair, day-to-day activities get affected. So these are the motor symptoms of Parkinson's, but there are non-motor symptoms also. So now when I'm saying this, again, I'm stressing that not that each and everyone will have all these symptoms. As the disease progresses, they may go on adding up. We have had people who have had Parkinson's for say 25 years, 30 years. So Parkinson's, you live with Parkinson's, make friends with Parkinson, accept and live with it. In non-motor symptoms, again, people really don't realize that these are also the symptoms of Parkinson. One of the very first symptom of Parkinson is constipation. Even before your motor symptoms come in, there is constipation, and you feel it is because of the age or because you don't realize why you have Parkinson's. Many of them have loss of smell. Besides that, there are memory problems, there is confusion, there is depression. As it progresses, there is hallucination. They start seeing things. The sleep disturbances is again very common, meaning the person may not get sleep in the night, and during the day while he's sitting, he may feel very sleepy. The sleep pattern goes very haphazard. Now again, it can be different for different people. There is fatigue. They get so tired without, you feel why am I feeling tired? But that is also one of the symptoms of Parkinson's. So these are the motor and non-motor symptoms, and all these together, some of these from here and there, they all together form Parkinson. So Parkinson is like a complex, as far as his presentation is concerned, it is a complex condition. So what do you do if there is, first and foremost, you need to go to a doctor. It's not that what happens is that people feel the person has become slow because of age, or so people just don't do anything. But the thing is, if you go to the doctor and you start medication, all this can be you can get over all these. It's like your dopamine is less, so you take the tablet that has dopamine and replace the dopamine, so you can be your normal self. But for this, you need to go to a neurologist, not a general practitioner. If you go to a general practitioner, most of the times he refers you to a neurologist. Neurologist is the person who treats the brain conditions. And nowadays there are movement disorder specialists also. Now, unfortunately, in India, we have, for this 1.3 billion population that we have only 2,000 neurologists who will be only in the big cities. And in smaller cities, like we found that in Sikkim there are no neurologists at all. So in Gangtok, when we found out that people go to the psychologists or the psychiatrists, but neurologists are the people where they should be going. And what we do, if people come to us, we also refer them to the neurologist in your area. Now, we do not have neurologists on board. We do not treat. We only give rehabilitation, but we can suggest doctors in your area. Now, research has proved that exercises are as important as medication. So the treatment is firstly medication, which is levodopa, which is like dopamine. Second, and not very often, is surgery, which is it's called deep brain stimulation, which is not, I mean, we do not recommend anything. It's not very commonly done. It has to be really, the doctor has to be very selective about the patients. Not older people, generally they do not do it. So there are pros and cons, but I'm just mentioning this because this is also one of the things that is practiced. Once the neurologist and the neurosurgeon discuss, decide, and then it's not that the surgery is done and now I am back to normal, I've come back to 20 years back. No, many of the other symptoms will still continue to exist. So I just want to mention this only because this is one of the options that is there. And of course, different therapies, which are, like I said, equally important: physiotherapy, speech therapy, cognitive rehabilitation, occupational therapy, dance and movement therapy. Diet is one of the important things in this, yoga. So all these are the treatments which help the people with Parkinson to lead a near normal, good quality life. We are not claiming that people get cured or they get all right, but so ours are group sessions where people see other people like them, they have friends, they have, this has become, many times what happens, they stop socializing. So we, in the group sessions, they make friends, this becomes their social contact, every weekly socialization. In addition to the exercises, they get motivated by looking at others, they share their strategies, their challenges. So that is what helps in the group therapy. That was about Parkinson's, the overview of Parkinson's disease. The second and very common is stroke. Now, when you say stroke, many people think that it is heart attack, but heart attack is different. Stroke is, like in common man's language, brain attack, or in in common man's language, what we say paralysis, or in Hindi, what is called a lakwa. So stroke is a very, very common condition. And the best part about stroke is that if the person gets treatment in very fast, it can be reversed, that it can be prevented. Like Parkinson's, the reason is not known, the prevention is not there. In stroke, there are a lot of things that can be done, and therefore it is important to know about it. There are main two types of stroke. Now, when anybody gets stroke, the person, they should go to a hospital and not a your family doctor, because now what you can see on the screen, that there are two types. One is where you see the artery that is burst over here, which means sometimes the vessel bursts because of sudden rise in the blood pressure or something, and then a particular part of the brain gets damaged. Or secondly, where what you see over here is like a clot in the artery of the brain that blocks, and so there is no oxygen supply to that part of the brain stops, and therefore there is some damage to the brain. So why you need to go to the hospital is because depending on the type of stroke and the cause, the treatment will differ, and for that the tests have to be done. uh, so what happens in stroke is that, as many of us might know, that the right side of our brain controls the left side of our body, and the left side of our brain will control the right side of the body. So when I am moving my this hand over here, it is the message is coming from the other side of the brain. So wherever, and accordingly the symptoms also sometimes change, because particular part of the brain controls particular activities of our body. So what do you do when you see somebody getting a stroke? How will you know? Like you feel suddenly he was talking very well till now, and now suddenly his voice has become, his sound, the words are rolling in the mouth. He cannot speak. His face is weak on one side, and suddenly you see the face slightly crooked. He cannot smile. If you ask him to smile, his face, because the control has gone on one side, will droop like that. If you ask them to raise both hands, one hand will go up properly, but the side that is weak will just little bit, he may be able to raise, and it will just drop down. Ask them to stick the tongue out, and tongue turns to one side, which has the power. So these are the things. That means there is something definitely wrong, and you need to rush, not wait. So the most important thing is that within 3 to 4 hours, if the person gets treatment, the a lot can be done for this person. If you lose time, so if something happens to an elderly person in, say, in the morning, everyone has gone to the office, and only one, the somebody is there, and that person may say, that when my son comes I will go in the evening. No, you lose time, and then lot of damage can be done to the brain. So this is what we need to remember: be fast. This is the most important thing in stroke. Be so be fast. Be is B, which is B for balance, where they lose balance or headache or dizziness. E is for eyes, when the vision can suddenly become blurred or double vision. The face, like I said, may droop on one side. Arms, if you ask him to raise, then only one side of the arm can be raised, and the other may not be able to raise. Speech gets affected. And T is for time. Like I said, time is very, very precious in stroke. Another thing, though stroke is seen in elderly, even young people can get stroke, and even children can get stroke. Stroke is not only old people's condition. It is anybody can get it, but it is seen as our age progresses in the elderly population. You see this happening more, because by then you may have diabetes, blood pressure, and that may result into stroke. The third condition that I'm going to talk about, which is related to the brain, is dementia. Now, I'm not sure whether many people have heard about dementia. The word dementia means does not mean loss of memory only. So dementia is loss of cognitive abilities. Okay, memory is just one of our abilities of our brain. But so a person who was unimpaired, who was all right, and now has started getting this cognitive degeneration. The things may be memory is one of the things, but also decision making, attention, concentration, different things get affected in dementia, language, vocabulary. So it is not only loss of memory, they get confused. So dementia is like one overall, it a overall term. If dementia is not a disease, dementia is the umbrella term which describes all these different behaviors like thinking, behavior, ability to perform everyday tasks. It can happen in any of these. Alzheimer's, many might have heard Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's disease is one of the diseases where you see dementia, which is the commonest type of dementia. So about 40 to 70% of people with Alzheimer's, like in the umbrella of dementia, 40 to 70 people constitute Alzheimer's patients. Then there is vascular. So these are all different types. We don't really need to remember, but every type has different types of symptoms. And Parkinson's is also now, if you see other dementias, there is Parkinson's also in that. So as the disease progresses, people with Parkinson may also get dementia. Besides that, there are many other types, but there is Lewy body dementia front. Also, depending on the type of dementia, that there is the medication may differ, and the symptoms also, the group of symptoms also differs. So I'm sure we all forget something. With my age, the younger people may not forget so much, but as our age progresses, I won't call myself old, but as you progress, you anyway forget things. Sometimes you just don't get the name of a person. You remember, you so many times feel, yeah, I know, I can visualize his face, but you don't get his name. So you forget the name of the person, it is all right. But if you forget the person, you say, no, I have never met him, I don't know him, then there may be a problem, or you need to worry. If you forget the day of the party, say 15 days back, you have gone somewhere to meet people or for a party, and then you forget that the day that I had gone on Thursday or Friday or whatever, it is all right. But if you forget and you say, no, I never went, or you forget that you ever went for that event, then there may be a problem. If you forget where the keys are or the specs are or the pen is, happens with everyone. So doesn't mean we have dementia. But if you forget what the keys are used for, you get the keys and worry, what is this? Or you get the specs and worry, what do I do with this? Then there is a problem. We all keep learning throughout. As our age progresses, maybe the learning process becomes slower. But as you grow older, or as you still can learn few things or different things, maybe at a slower pace. But if you cannot learn at all, then there is a problem. So everyone need not worry that do I have dementia or does he have dementia? There are things that, but we need to worry. You need to go to a doctor. You need to go to the neurologist again, because there is medication. There is no cure again for dementia. Dementia is also a progressive condition, unless it is caused by, sometimes it may be caused by some medicines that we take, or some thing that you take, and then it causes, then after you withdraw the medication and you may come back. But the dementia otherwise per se, there is no cure. So the most important is, of course, medical management to keep them, because sometimes they get violent, sometimes as the condition progresses. So to keep them calm, to keep them in control, the caregivers are the most important people for people with dementia. The spouse, children, the nurse, attendant, they need to understand. And sometimes what happens, I may remember something just now, and you may ask me again after 3 hours, I may forget. But that is just because of the dementia, and I'm not acting up. So people need to realize, understand the family members who live with the people. So the education about the disease, its complications and its management is very, very important. And of course, cognitive rehabilitation, different activities to keep the brain active, depending on the stage of dementia is again very important. Not that it is going to cure, but maybe your brain can remain more active for a little longer time. What is going to come in 5 years may take 7 or 8 years to come, and the person remains engaged. So cognitive rehabilitation is one of the very important things. Spending time with the person is again very, very important. So that is about the management of dementia. Now I want to, so these are the three things that, three conditions in neurological conditions in the elderly that I wanted to talk about. Chayanika, you would like to
Yeah. So
take
I'd like
over?
to know about your modules of PDMDS in Northeast and how are you trying to reach to the masses, like both in urban and rural areas? Can you elaborate something about your awareness camps in urban and rural
Yes, yes,
areas
sure,
of
sure,
Northeast
sure,
India?
sure. Yeah. Sure. So I'll just talk in quickly about the PDMDS model, what we have been practicing everywhere, including, of course, Northeast India. Our model is community based. It is not based in any hospital or any center. It is like many times it's either in a church, the community hall of the church, or any other NGO has given us a space, or a club has given us space. The main thing is the local coordinators and the local professionals, because the local people know they know the culture, they know the structure, they know the language, they know the pulse of the people there. So the local coordinators and professionals are most important, and we have different outreach programs for them. And we follow multidisciplinary module that I have been talking all the time, which consists of education, meaning information, lot of information that we share about Parkinson's, and therapy. So I'll quickly take you through what exactly I mean. These are all the different, like when I said group programs. So these like a group, this is group therapy where they interact with each other, they make friends, they see people like themselves, and that is the best thing for the feedback that we have got is that rather than someone coming home for therapy, we really love these kind of programs. So we have physiotherapy, we have physiotherapists on the team, we have neurophysiotherapists on the team so physiotherapy is done to improve the movement, because it is a movement disorder, and to improve the activities of daily living. Then we have speech therapy, because like I said, the speech gets affected, so it will help in increasing the volume, clarity, and main thing is improving communication, because many times they speak but the family member or the person they are talking to doesn't understand what exactly the person is saying. So speech therapy, like I said, there are many non-motor symptoms, depression, anxiety. So counseling, psychotherapy is all makes helps in these things. There is a lot of social stigma attached. So all these things are covered in that. Cognitive therapy, just said about that, because Parkinson's also, as it progresses, has a part of dementia, or it may anyway affect some of the cognitive aspects. So we have different activities for people to just, so it's done through activities, games. It's not that come let us do cognitive therapy. It is done through different activities which people enjoy. Diet is very important in Parkinson again. Art therapy has really helped improve fine motor skills, creative emotional expressions, and of course, letting so many times people just go back to their childhood, like, old grandparents becoming like their grandchildren, and the happiness that you see on their faces and they share is just nothing can replace that. Another thing is dance and movement therapy. The feedback that we have got, we had this Dance With Me program, and we have these different programs. We have regular dance sessions, and then we also celebrate World Parkinson's Day, and the people with Parkinson dance on the stage and their grandchildren and children come and see the program, it definitely it is a movement therapy, but in addition to that, it is for their mind, for their body, for their emotions, everything. It is people just wait for it. So dance and movement therapy, of course, research has also proved that it helps, but we have seen fantastic outcome. I am again just talking about there is no cure to it, but the quality of life is what our aim is. So we have created a lot of resource material like videos, programs, and fact sheets or activity sheets, and we share these. They are translated in local language, and we share these even in our rural projects, so that then people and everyone, especially in the rural areas, internet becomes an issue, so videos don't always work, but they can look at it anytime and continue their activities. This is another thing that because there is as I said, the disease condition progresses, the people slowly get homebound, and then we have a home program for them. And what Chainika asked about is we also have programs in rural and tribal areas where we create a lot of awareness. So the activity, and we have health camps. So the model that we follow in these areas is we conduct door-to-door survey. So we first thing is we identify local community workers who speak the language, who know the area. We train them in conducting the survey first, and we conduct the survey. We identify people who have Parkinson's, and in rural areas we also cater to the other other neurological disabilities, because we anyway we have this program which, and we are reaching out over there. So all the people with most of the people with neurological conditions need physiotherapy, occupational therapy, etc. Then we conduct a health camp. All these people that we identify, we conduct a health camp for them where we invite neurologists and they do the checkup. Those who cannot afford the medicine, we give them medication, and then we start the support group. So most of the times in the rural and tribal areas, the programs that we have are for healthy aging. So similar, even in the Northeast, we are actually we had tried to collaborate with the universities and some organizations in Assam also, and because of this lockdown everything had just stopped, but we are open to collaborations. We work in different models, and collaborating with the existing organizations really works very well because they know the area. We don't need to start from scratch. If you are like-minded organizations who are working for that community, for the elderly, for these people, for the welfare, we would like to collaborate and start any of these programs that will, and would love to help people with any kind of conditions. So I think Chayanika being our local coordinator from Guwahati, and she is looking after our programs in Guwahati. Chayanika, would you like to share anything?
Yes. I'll be sharing my PPT now.
Okay, I'll just.
So I'll be talking about geriatric care and social worker. So when we talk about elder care, I think worker plays a very important role. Who is a geriatric social worker? Geriatric social worker is a subsector of social work that specializes with elderly populations. A social workers can play a major role in minimizing the negative impacts of aging and works on and can improve the quality of life for their patients. So as a social worker being engaged in different organizations who work for elder care, we can work in the overall increase of the mental health and well-being of the patients. Now, what is the main objective? So the main objectives as a social worker is to sensitize people about elder care and elder living, and also to sensitize people that old age cannot be a waste of time. Old age can be used in a productive way. Many elderly populations have lot of skills. We can give them a platform where they can honor their skills, and also probably suppose someone is very good in making pickles or making good handicrafts, so we can provide them an online platform and start an online business for them where they can promote their business. And also very important is that the attitude of the people has to be changed, and more awareness on elder care has to be created. And also caregivers, as Dr. Sharmila has already mentioned, in Parkinson's and other elderly disease, caregivers plays very important role. There should be caregivers should be given more skill-based training so that they can take proper care of the elderly population. So, with old age, what are the common impacts on the individuals? People start losing their self-sufficiency, and they feel that they are a burden on their family. So we have to constantly make them feel that they are not a burden to the family. In fact, we can learn a lot of experiences from them, and we can utilize their time in a productive way. And with the help of geriatric social worker, we can help them become more empowered to live a full and self-sufficient life. So some of the keynotes to follow considering the elder care in Assam is that the standard of living, we need to make people more sensitized about how exercise is very important, how healthy eating is important, and also more and more awareness on healthy aging should be carried out, so that people are right from their late 40s, they are aware how to take care of their health. And also a need for 24 into 7 nursing care and need for professional caregivers. So here are some of the glimpses of awareness camps that we have carried out. This is the weekly session. So we have two centers here in Guwahati. One is in Ulubari and one is in Hattigao. So both the session, once in a week, we have physiotherapy sessions for people with Parkinson's. This is the image of the art therapy that we had with the patients. And these are some of the post-COVID online sessions that we are having with the patients. We also have special sessions for the caregivers once a week. Now, I'd also like to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on the differently able. I did a study on the urban Indian residents. So the report COVID-19 is such an event which has unveiled the structural inadequacies for the welfare of the weak and disempowered. And one such disempowered group is persons with disabilities. One of its important measures as social distancing, it has been very difficult for people of differently abled to maintain social distancing, as they are always dependent on caregiver. And of course, these measures were undertaken by respective governments to contain the spread of the disease. However, from migrant workers in India to women worldwide, the impact of the pandemic has been uneven on the population. And one such disadvantaged people are the differently abled people. Now, Now, looking at the how physical distancing norms have affected the old and differently abled, and also looking from the class dimension among the disabled, according to professional psychologists, individuals and disability and their families are at a greater risk of poor health and quality of life outcomes because either their social status is affected by their disabilities or their disabilities are made worse by the inaccessibility that comes with lower social status. Now, lower social income level have been consistently correlated with poor health and inferior quality of life. Even depression is reported to be high amongst the unprivileged sections. Depression is high among people, and it was significantly more in illiterate, unskilled, and skilled workers and those who belong to lower socio-economic groups. Being poor disabled is a cyclic process. When one is born to a poor family, one's nutrition intake is affected by the underlying near poverty circumstances of the family, which in turn affects the lifelong health of the individuals. Similarly, mother's health is also important, and it is important that a pregnant woman consume nutrient-rich food items for her health as well as the health of the upcoming child. Government schemes like Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana as well as Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritwa Abhiyan are welcome measures towards ensuring good health of the mother as well as the upcoming child. Now let us look at some of the government aids. On the third day of the first lockdown, that is March 26th, under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, the finance minister announced 1,000 rupees as a one-time payment in two installments over 3 months for persons with disabilities. Similarly, various state governments have undertaken initiatives to aid to disabled. The central government has come up with the comprehensive disability inclusive guidelines for the states to follow. The central government has asked the state government to circulate the information related to the pandemic in braille, audio tapes, and videographic material. However, many of these announced initiatives have failed to reach the beneficiaries. Also, the NCPEDP report shows that with regard to various issues such as communication, information, access to essential and medical aid, the interests of the disabled have been left. Now, issues of underrepresentation and social awareness. One of the major reasons for the suffering of the disabled is because their voice is invisible in the dominant narrative. Thus, no surprise that in the pandemic, the disabled remain an invisible minority. Society needs to change its outlook towards the differently abled, and mere laws, although well intentioned, can prove to be ineffective if social change must be accompanied with social awareness so that people are more aware of the policies that are being given by the government. And also, if we look initially when Arogya Setu app was launched for contact tracing and avoid the risk of the virus spreading, it wasn't made user friendly for disabled people. I would like to conclude that even though so many facilities are being offered by the NGOs and different sectors, but however, some old patient participants, for example, in PDMDS as well, when I'm conducting the online sessions, they are not comfortable with technology. And as a result, they are not being able to avail the online services provided by their respective NGOs like free online physiotherapy. For conditions like osteoporosis, blindness, and movement disorder, where it is nearly impossible to do without physical touch, the no touch social distance stigma has added to their miseries. However, once economic conditions determines the direness of the impact of the pandemic and the lockdown on the people with disabilities. So I feel that in order to design proper policies that meets the need of the differently abled, there needs to be proper representation of different categories of differently abled people in the decision making bodies, and also more young social workers can help to contribute towards the elderly living in a productive and more useful way. Thank you. we are open for questions. If anybody have questions, you can raise your hands or you can comment in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and put forward the question. Before we get questions from the participants, I have a question for Dr. Sharmila. So can you tell me some of the myths and superstitious belief about Parkinson's that people commonly have in India?
Yeah. So the most common one, like I think, since you were also talking about people with disabilities, so I also would like to add that in the recent 2001 Person with Disabilities Act, 2016 Persons with Disabilities Act, or now which has become Rights to Persons with Disabilities Act, they have included Parkinson's disease as one of the disabilities. So now they have increased the number of diseases in the list, and so Parkinson's also comes in that list, which also means that they should be able to avail the facilities for all the disabled people. But like you said, most of yet it's 4 years now, but it hasn't yet. People don't know about it. Even the offices do not know about how to avail and how to reach and get the facilities. So now, since it is a type of disability, and as it progresses, people have the commonest myth is that it is my last birth's sin or something. As you say in Hindi, pichle janam ka paap. So which is and we have heard people saying that, that they get so frustrated that what have I done in my last janam, that this is what has happened. Second thing is also that people think that it is contagious. So it is not contagious. It is no sin or anything. It doesn't happen to, it is not selective. It can happen to any race, any color, any rich, poor, religion. It has crossed all bars, and it is just anywhere anybody can have it. It is not that it is seen in the urban cities, and it's not there in the rural area. We see in the rural area also, but it's just that it's not diagnosed or people just live with it. Fortunately, one of the things is also that in the rural areas, people do a lot of farming, agriculture, day-to-day activities, which keeps them active, which, like we say, they need to exercise. These exercises happen. It's again not like I said, the hereditary factor is only 5%. So it is not that it is going to, every child is going to get because the parent has it. So there are, like, many myths. That other thing is that now that I have got Parkinson's, I cannot do anything. So that is also not the case. Like, we are striving to improve the quality of life. They keep themselves active, they are happy, they do a lot of things. We have been promoting their creative activities. So many of them make so many beautiful things, pursue hobbies. So it's not that they just have to sit in a corner and brood. They can do a lot of things in spite of having this, and they can fight the condition, get over it, and continue. Yeah, thanks.
Any questions from the participants?
I have a question. I wanted to know, because you mentioned about community outreach and reaching out to the communities. My father had Parkinson, and when I met you first time, that time only in the riverbank. That's the first time I know that there is something about Parkinson over here in Guwahati. So, though I live in Guwahati, we didn't know about it. So, how do you think you were reaching out to the villages? That's one question. Okay. second question is that, among us, we have some people or community leaders who are doing excellent work in 17, 18 districts. If I want to do, or if they want to connect with you or collaborate, what they need to do.
So how we reach out, of course, there is like our first aim. We said that there is no awareness about Parkinson's and about our existence even less. So that is why we are trying to conduct a lot of awareness programs, trying to connect with organizations, trying to write in the newspapers, and we are trying to uh, reach out to people as much as possible in different ways. And therefore we also want to collaborate with organizations so that we can like Chayanika has been going to old age homes to plan awareness programs, to clubs, to different, we try also have awareness programs in colleges. With such a vast country, I know there are so many like you who have said that I just live so close by, but I did not know about this. That is the thing, we are trying our best, but if those whoever know can help us spread awareness, that is the key. And that is why we have now uh, realized the importance of social workers, and for last few years we have got social workers on the team because they can plan different strategies to reach out to people. uh, the second thing about reaching in the rural areas, of course, living in the urban area, we cannot do anything in the rural area. So what we at present, what we are doing is, like you said, that in people who are working in the districts or the organization that are working in the districts, we are collaborating with them. That is what we have done in Gujarat, in Maharashtra, and were trying to do that in Assam, in outskirts of Guwahati. That collaborate with organizations or start these programs where we train the local people, the community workers. I mean, we call them community workers or whoever, social workers, and then we can take the program to that region. So in one of the programs that we have in Gujarat, we have now reached out. So there is an organization that works with 90 districts over there, and we have now reached to more than 20. So every year we reach out to more and more people. Even for us, it's not possible to start a huge program, but if any organization is willing to collaborate with us, what you have suggested will be, we would be more than happy to reach out anywhere.
And today presentation was great. We are getting messages saying that it's very informative. I was just wondering, could we have a clone of you who speak Assamese and have the same presentation in Assamese?
Thank you very much. Maybe Chayanika can have the present. I can try learning Assamese, but Chayanika can fluently speak it. So maybe she can translate, and we can definitely reach out to more and more people. We can definitely try that. I would also like to share the slide, or Chayanika has the slide, that the last slide of our contacts, so that if anyone wants to contact, like since you asked how to go about it, you can write to us on the on our email, or you can contact Chayanika or whoever and get to us. But if we can share the last slide, then maybe people can write to us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
We have one question. This question is from Priyanshu. He wants to know precautions for youngsters so that they don't get Parkinson's.
Okay, so I had mentioned that there is no prevention yet, and we do not know what will prevent. So the general healthy living habits is what is advised, like good diet, good exercise, good sleeping habits, which we the youngsters have, I think, really given up And sleep habits are really very important for your brain health. Good brain stimulation for everyone. We need to keep stimulating and challenging our brain all the time. So if you are doing something, follow your hobbies. But if you are, say you're doing something at the same level, if you keep on doing, that is not challenging. Say for example, if you if you keep solving a crossword and you are at that same level, that becomes easy for you. That is not challenge. You have to do something which is more difficult. Or in the common this thing, say rural area, anybody can. If I love cooking and I cook, which is also where I use my brain, but if I do my regular cooking, which is very I don't really have to think about it. Maybe I should start and cooking Assamese food, or maybe a different type of food, which again becomes a little challenging for me. So if you need to keep challenging your brain, doing different activities, and which will help us keep healthy. But that doesn't 100% guarantee that you will not get Parkinson's. But keeping our brain and body healthy and fit is the mantra.
And
I
ma'am, one more question from my side. Yeah, that is, how can we differentiate if it's essential tremor or Parkinson?
So essential tremor is only the tremor that you have. Many times essential tremor can be hereditary also. And Parkinson, like I mentioned, is a group of symptoms. There are so many symptoms along with. So before, for a younger person, actually before the Parkinson starts, like I said, there are prodromal symptoms. You lose sense of smell. The constipation is one of the things which is very common. Sometimes a depression or feeling of little sadness. These kind of things come much before the physical symptoms come. And but Parkinson is like I don't know if you remember the picture, that there is this typical posture, typical walk, rigidity, slowness. These things are all there in a patient with Parkinson's. Whereas essential tremor is only the tremor. And also secondly is for Parkinson, the tremor is a resting tremor. If I'm doing something, I will not have the tremor. If I'm cooking, I will not have the tremor. I can do my cooking well initially, but as I am resting and keep my hand at rest, it will have tremor. Whereas essential tremor is not the resting tremor.
Yes, ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
So I have a similar question. As I said, my father had Parkinson.
Yeah.
So what? And I'm going to be 50 now. So what kind of thing I should be looking, or be careful about? When I think it's a recap. I saw that you gave so much information.
Exactly.
Some of this doing
Yes,
went
yes.
above my head. So
Yeah.
to recap, what all should I look for again?
So to recap, first of all, don't get panicky. Not that you will definitely get it. Secondly, like I said, have a healthy lifestyle. Keep your brain active. Thirdly, the symptoms, like I said, initially, if many people now, like I said, there are 50 symptoms in Parkinson, and some there each one may get just a combination of 10 or 4 or 5 or whatever. But one symptom is not Parkinson, definitely. So if the initial symptoms are not physical symptoms, they are more of these non-motor type of symptoms, where constipation, loss of smell, depression, these kind of symptoms come in first, and slowly that either sometimes the tremor is most of the times the initial symptom, but and then slow tightness, or the way you walk, that changes your gait, your body, your movement, you become slightly slower. Then it may um, lead to Parkinson. But again, Parkinson, only 5% is hereditary, and not that everyone will have I mean, every child of the parent having Parkinson will have Parkinson, but leading a healthy lifestyle is the only thing, since right now there is no prevention as such.
It is called
I hope I've
Parkinson.
answered your question.
Yes, you
Sorry.
did. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks.
And the second question I have is why it is called Parkinson? Where the name Parkinson came from?
So Parkinson was discovered by a person called Dr. James Parkinson about 200 years back,
Okay.
when he studied a few people, some 6, 7 people who had similar tremors and stooping posture and the gait. These are the main characteristic symptoms, the rigidity of the body. And he studied those, and then he defined, I mean, then he so he was the first one to identify or name the disease as, and that is why it is called as Parkinson's.
Okay. Thanks.
I have one more question. This question is from Sanarambi. She wants to know, is there any capacity building program or digital literacy training for the elderly person that is provided by PDMDS?
Uh, in what area?
Related to Parkinson's and elderly.
So we have this, I don't know whether I've got the question right, but for the elderly or digital program for the elderly, we do have like a healthy aging program, which we conduct online, which is like a one session of, all the different types of neurological conditions. It's a combination of how to keep your brain active and body active or healthy. So for the elderly, we call that program as healthy aging program. That is the one program one time. And second is the, like I said, how what we have introduced in Sikkim, the healthy aging program for elderly. So if anybody wants to continue having that program like we have in Sikkim, then we will train so that will be our collaboration with us, where we will train their team so it will be like a collaboration. We will have a coordinator, we will have, so it takes a lot of things to different things, including not only the technical aspect, also documentation. And once if you have a program, but we do have those programs also which are like a collaboration with the organization or with its a old age home, is what we have in Sikkim. But we do have programs for them as well. So for once, if we decide to have something, then we do have capacity building for their team.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have. Sorry. Can I speak?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. So I have a question. Your organization, Dr. Sharmila, is now trying like venturing. I could see the map in the very beginning and how you're also venturing towards the northeast. You started with Sikkim, and I think Chainika is also looking into the Guwahati site of like people with Parkinson's, right? So from these interventions, like how, in what way or what uniqueness or challenges you've seen when dealing with people with Parkinson's in the northeastern area, like anything unique or anything challenging, and how are you thinking of dealing with those challenges, or maybe just leveraging the uniqueness.
So the uniqueness or challenges, let me start with challenges. So the challenges in Northeast, I think the terrain, geographical, there are geographical challenges where people cannot reach if I talk about Sikkim, and many of the, I think, northeastern states may have similar challenges, that if, see, we cannot have centers everywhere. Like you cannot have a group of 2 people. you need to at least have a few people. So we do have, like Chainika said, we have 2 centers in Guwahati, but in some of the places we just have 1 center. So for people to come and reach there becomes difficult. That is one of the main challenges. Also, I think maybe more than that, above that, the challenge is that there is no awareness. So people don't want to come to the center because people think that he has just become old and this is his, he doesn't need anything. So that the awareness and attitude of the people is the first challenge. And the second is this, but once people have started coming, and the feedback that we have got, like I remember Chainika sending me one of the feedbacks when a new person with Parkinson joined her group, that I think his daughter sent a feedback saying that PDMDS has changed his life, which is like we makes all the challenges worthwhile, that. So but yeah, of course, the attitude, and like somebody mentioned that there is, that how people don't know about us. So reaching out, awareness, creating awareness is another challenge, that we are there but people don't know about us. So how do we provide our service? Our services are all free. We do not charge anything to anybody, because so that anyone can come. Otherwise physiotherapy individually is very expensive, and like if you have to live with Parkinson, you need to have physiotherapy all your life. So but people need to understand the importance of the multidisciplinary program. Actually, this program is very well accepted in the World Parkinson Congress, and they have invited us to replicate it in Africa and a few other developing countries. Of course, the West and developed countries is a different thing, but our program is community based. It can be replicated anywhere. So we really hope that we can create awareness and should be able to reach out to people. We are desperately trying to reach out to people now with the webinars. So many webinars happening everywhere. We are still, like I said, we were reaching out to 500, and now we have crossed 800 thanks to the webinars and online sessions. But we just need to, that is why I have been saying, I think at least 10 times I have said till from the time we started, that collaboration is something that we need to do, because we have seen that is what works. Yeah, thanks.
As I said, Dr. Sarmila, that my father died of Parkinson, and I wish that I had attended this seminar before 10 years ago. Would be able to understand him much better. But I will take it as one of my challenge to spread the news, to use your services as much as possible. My request for you will be to give some Assamese lesson to you, and I will. I mean, as I said, I have been working with few people who are working in various district inside leader. I'm getting to know them also. So it's great to know that all your services are free. How do you get paid then? Who pays your services?
So we have, of course, there are many well-wishers and donors, and there are some. So now we have these CSR programs. So some part is funded by CSR, where the corporate social responsibility, some of the corporates try to fulfill their social responsibility and fund some of the programs. And otherwise, through donations, we have fundraising drives. So that is totally a different aspect that we have, because our founders' clear instructions are that we will never charge anyone. So we do have fundraising programs and donations, and some collaborations. If we have collaborations, then the whole thing doesn't fall totally on us. Then you sort of people like you collaborate. So it works that way also.
And somebody had asked your email address. If it's okay to share, then
Yeah, of course.
Sainika,
Can I share my screen and share all the contact details?
sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd like to inform everyone, like all the participants present here, that a feedback form has been given in the chat box. I request everyone to kindly fill up the feedback form, and accordingly you will be sent a e-certificate to your respective email IDs. Thank you.
So these are all our contact details. Even somebody makes a phone call also, it is all right, or our email ID. And more information about our organization on any of these. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to reach out to the Northeast. Really
Dr.
happy for that.
Sharmila, I have
Yeah.
a question. Yeah, so
Yes.
any issue get aggravated when one is economically poor. So apart from providing the sessions,
Yeah.
physiotherapy sessions, are there any medical assistance that you provide, or meaning do you provide them with free medicines and all?
So we do provide free medication to people who cannot afford that, but we have protocol for that. So our social worker generally assesses the people, because we have had few experiences where when we told people that we are giving medication to those who cannot afford, we have had people who come in the car but still want medicine from us. So we also are an NGO, and like I said, we struggle getting funds but do not charge. So that is why this thing of having one assessment and evaluation of whether the person really cannot afford and needs medicine, and if they really need, then we do give some of the medicines of Parkinson's disease only. Like if someone has diabetes or blood pressure, we do not give that. Only for Parkinson's disease, we do provide medicine. In fact, we also give assistive aids. Like if someone needs a walker or a cane or a wheelchair, then we do provide that as well.
All right. Any more questions? If no, then probably we can close the session for today. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharmila, for joining us today. It was indeed very nice interacting with you today. And I hope all the participants and everyone who is viewing this session has learned something new from this session today. Thank you all the participants for joining us today. So next Wednesday, we'll be having yet another webinar on elder care. Utpal Harshvardhan from Mother's Old Age Home will be joining us next week, next Wednesday. And I hope to see you all again next Wednesday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.